Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Bane bringing you gaming goodness, and we, in this video, are going to be taking a look at Haze Islands, a game by Charles Ward and X First Games. And I'm going to tell you why this is one of the most surprising games I've played in a long while. Let's check it out. Right, so Charles Ward of X First Games, this is their website, contacted me, I think late last year, and asked if I had heard or was aware of their game Haze Islands. And I replied that it sounded familiar, and when I checked my computer, I actually downloaded the free print and play version. You can see the game here. But there is apparently a free print and play version on Board Game Geek, and I downloaded this a number of years ago, which is quite lucky because for the last year, maybe 2 years, I haven't actually been able to access Board Game Geek. I don't know why. I haven't done anything. I think it's a local problem because I think there's a bunch of us in Malaysia that have this problem. There is, I think, a mirror site, bgg.cc. And this is basically what I get. I can kind of answer messages, but that's pretty much all I can do with Board Game Geek at the moment. So you're going to have to take my word for it that I did download this from Board Game Geek. And if you go to BGG or X First Games, you've got the link here for the freebies for the print and play. But yes, I did download the print and play a while back, but I never printed it out or played it simply because of the fact that there wasn't an ink-friendly version. I think there was a number of different sort of rule book variations, but they all would have used a lot of ink. So at the time, I didn't actually print it out, but it did look interesting, and that's why I downloaded it in the first place. So you have print and play for the rule book. You also have a file where you can print out all of the cards. Now, as I mentioned just now, I did download it a number of years ago. It did catch my attention, but I never, like I say, never printed it out because it would have been quite ink intensive. And I said this to Charles, and I said, you know, I was interested, but, you know, lots of ink. And he offered to send me a physical copy, which we have here. And thank you very much, Charles, for doing that. I highly appreciate it. And upon receiving it, I opened it up. The thing is that when you sort of open up and you open the rule book, now this is different than the print and play rules that I have here, but it actually says on the very first page about the rule book. It takes about 40 minutes to read the rules. Now the thing is, the rule book's not that big. It's got like 27 pages including the index, and it is, you know, fairly small. But it says it's going to take 40 minutes to read the rules. And I was thinking, oh, is it really that complex? And this is where the whole surprising thing comes into place, because it's not. After reading the rules and watching the X First video, I did have the impression that this is going to be a difficult game. Hard game to learn, hard game to play, confusing. But actually what I found is that this is one of those games where once you start playing, it all makes sense. And it all flows very, very nicely. And it's like I said, that first impression was very false. It was a false first impression. And this is actually a game that I've had a lot of fun with. I've played this a number of times, both solo and also with my children, because this is a game for 1 to 3 players. Now what we're going to do is get off the computer, and I'm going to show you on the table with a different camera. I'm going to actually show you how to play this game and all the different components. So I'm signing off here, and let's go to the table. Alright, before we open the box, let's have a read of the game introduction so you know exactly what this game is about. Right. You and your band of scallywag pirates are in deep, deep trouble. Uh-oh! An ominous creature, the Doom, has been shadowing your ship, growing angrier every day. Is it looking for revenge? Did you take one treasure too many? Your days are numbered. Be damned! Drop sails while the wind is bellowing behind you. Defeat your nemesis and quench your thirst for adventure to become the most feared pirate of them all. Well, this game is about exploration. It's about going around the islands, finding treasure, finding spells, to gather as much victory points, but also to try and defeat the doom. Now, everything you need is inside this box, so let us take a look. So the print and play version will have PDFs for the rules and also for the cards. You will have to provide a few other little bits and pieces. But if you get the physical version, everything is in this box. So let's open it up. So what you'll have inside are 2 rule books. One of them will be in English and one will be in Japanese. It's a nice tight fit, as you can see. So you get an English rule book. There is also a Japanese language rule book as well. The designer does actually live in Japan, and I know that he has a market there for his game. So this is a dual language little box. We'll be using the English one, obviously. You will also be getting a number of cards. We'll go through the card composition in a little second. Ignore the barcode, it's from another product. And you'll also be getting a bunch of tokens and a single die. Right, let me take these out of the baggies and we'll have a look and go through exactly what they are and all the different cards as well. Right, let's go through the tokens first. I mean, you're going to get 1 die. This is going to represent the doom, the creature that you're trying to avoid. This is a 1 to 3 player game, so there are 3 tokens to represent your ship. Each player will also get 3 small cubes, they're wooden cubes, to represent pirates that you can put onto islands as expeditions. So let's take a look at the cards. Now there are 3 different types of cards in the game, but as a supplement to those, you will get a reference card, which basically explains the different actions that you can take, but also it also shows you what happens at the end of the turn. So it's a nice little reference card. I'll just put that there for the moment. But yeah, there are 3 different types of cards. You will get 27 map cards. You will get 18 adventure cards, and you will get 6 doom cards. Now the doom cards are double-sided. One side will have 4 icons, the other side will have 3 icons. And what you have to do as part of winning the game is to actually deplete this deck of doom cards. And I've got to admit that's easier said than done, because I have yet to defeat the doom in any of the games that I have played, simply because I just haven't been finding and gathering enough of these icons. Now, in the game, there will be some resources which have icons. There are also some spells that have the icons. To defeat the doom, you need to find and have the spells that are required. Now, as I say, I've yet to defeat the doom. I just haven't been able to find enough spells. I mean, when you also shuffle this deck here, you'll be shuffling it and also flipping it and then shuffling again. So you will have a variety of 3-sided and 4-sided cards. So yeah, if you're lucky, they're all 3s and you might have a chance. Right, the adventure cards and the map cards are used during the game as face down decks. Okay, they're not visible, they are face down. To create an island, I mean, at the start of the game, you're going to create 1 island, and then during the game, you can also explore. Is that the right word? Scout is the actual name of the action, but it's like exploring, where you can actually look in a direction from the island you are and create another island. So you will have 27 map cards, you will have 18 adventure cards, and there are 6 doom cards. Now, the map cards in the first turn, you will not have 9 of them in the deck. High Seas and Cursed cards will be taken from the deck and added for the second turn, for the second round of play. And that's basically everything that you need to play the game. Now, the game is for 1 to 3 players. There are slightly different rules if you're playing solo in terms of discarding the cards and where the cards go, and also the victory conditions. But the mechanics of this game are actually very interesting. And like I say, when I was reading through the rules the first time, and when I was watching the how to play video from X-First Games, I still had a lot of questions. I wasn't sure whether I fully understood. It's not to say that the rules are badly written. They're not. It's just that the game design and the mechanics, I didn't fully understand to begin with. Now, that may just be me, but what I found was that once I actually started playing it, it just made sense. It worked. There are, again, I'm not the brightest spark, but there are games where it takes me longer to understand, and there are some games where reading the rules, watching videos is not enough. I need a playthrough. I need my hands-on to actually understand what's going on. And this was actually one of those games. So yeah, what else are we doing next? Let's just take a look and see how the game plays. Okay, we are going to set up and play, I think at least the first turn, so you can see how the basic mechanics go. At the end, I think I may add, if it's not in the first turn, I may add a sort of an example of how combat kind of works. But yeah, this game is for 1 to 3 players. The setup is essentially the same. In a single player game, when you're playing solo, all of the map cards, except Cursed and High Seas cards, these ones here are going to go in a separate pile. This is going to be the discard pile. All of the other map cards are going to be shuffled and placed in front of you. You've got the adventure cards, which are shuffled and placed here, and the Doom cards are shuffled, and some of them are flipped over, shuffled is there. So to defeat the Doom, you've got to get rid of all of these cards, and it shows you which spells or which icons you need to actually defeat it. And then this card goes into your log, and these represents, in this example, represents 3 victory points. If you're playing multiplayer, obviously you'll be using the other ships and pirate blocks. But as you can see on this picture here, the actual setup is a little bit different in that the first player, you can generate randomly, will then place 1 card from the map deck to each other player, and that represents their map deck. And then as the first player plays their action, and if they discard any cards, the cards go on top of the next player's map deck. And these then become cards that they can use for various actions. And then when they discard cards, it goes to the next player. When the last player has to discard cards, they go onto the discard pile over here. In a solo game, you don't have to worry about the other players. Any cards that you have to discard go straight here into the discard pile. For the second turn and onwards, you will include the Cursed and High Seas cards into the deck, shuffle, and then that will be your map deck. We have our die to represent the Doom. We have our tokens. We've got our little quick reference sheet here, and we are ready to go. So, start of the game, what you will do is you will take the top map deck from the first player, or in a solo game, the only player, and you will take the top adventure card, and what you will do is you'll combine these to create your first island. So we flip both of these over, and you always place the adventure card with its 2 icon face first. I think I mentioned earlier, I can't remember whether I mentioned earlier to be honest, but during the end of turn phase, you will be instructed to turn any 2 icon around to the 1 icon, and any 1 icon you'll be told to flip to the blank side. So you have limited time to approach these adventures. And by completing these adventures, by having the icons which are necessary and then spending those icons, you can then gather these and put into your captain's log, and these will represent scoring points. Now, with the adventure, if you gain the adventure when it has these two icons, you also get the possibility of using its special ability. But this can only be used once per game, and if you do use it, you basically don't get the 2 points in your final VP, victory points. You'll just get 1. So our starting island is here. Oh, that's the wrong side. Put it with the 2. Now, your starting island you can put however you want. You can put it up here if you want to, down here. You can put it over here. You can even put it in any rotation that you want. However, you see these diamonds on the map card. These represent directions that you can sail, that you can move. Also, directions that you can scout and create new locations. So again, that may influence where you place this and how you rotate it. Now, in this example, we're only going to be playing, I think, 1 turn, so we don't need a huge playing space. But just to make things maybe a little bit easier, I'm going to put it slightly towards the top of this playing area here. So we are starting at the Republic of Ray. The adventure that is here is called Sunken Gold. So you can only complete these scenarios or these adventures if you're at the location. And of course, since we're starting with 1 island, this is where we start. So we place our, I'll put it down like that so you guys can see it properly. So you put your ship tokens on here, and again, every other player would do the same. At the bottom of the map card, you also have a couple of pieces of information. You have an icon here. Now, this is a resource that you can gain from this island if you place one of your pirates here. This is a action called deploy. To do the deploy, you will discard 1 map card and you'll place one of your pirate tokens on this card, and then later, if you need this particular icon or this particular resource, you can then bring back your pirate to your ship and then utilize that icon. Another way to gain icons is by doing raid, and that's what this symbol is here, this number. You can do a raid as an action, in which case you will draw cards from your map deck equal to this number, keep 1 and discard the rest. Again, in a multiplayer game, you will discard them to the next player's map deck. If you are the last player or a solo player, your cards get discarded onto the discard pile. A turn ends when all of the map cards have got to the discard pile. What else is there? If you do complete the adventure, if you have and spend the icons which are necessary, so in this case it's a crew member and a map, you can then take this and this will be left blank. During the end of turn, you will then put a new adventure there. I know there's a lot of things that are going on here, and this is one of the things that made me, again, gave me that first impression that maybe this game was a little bit more involved than I was expecting, but it actually works well. So let's start the game. So we've placed our ship on this starting island here. That's the starting adventure. We don't have any of these icons or resources yet. If I want to defeat the Doom, I'm going to need 2 fireballs. And then this icon is actually split into 3 because it represents any of the spells. So it can either be a fireball, a whirlpool, or a hurricane. But essentially, I've got to find 3 of these spells, this combination, to actually take this Doom card. Now, in the book, let me just grab the book for you. Dum, dum, dum. Here we go. Here's the book. In terms of winning the game, okay, it says here goal. Defeat the Doom or survive until the end of the game, normally 6 rounds. The surviving player with the most icons on their completed adventure cards wins. However, below that, it also has this thing called game modes. And I'm looking at this as being alternative goals. Friendly games, in other words, when you're playing co-op, you can't attack other players, obviously. Competitive, you can play. If you're playing multiplayer, you can play competitively, where you can attack other players and try and steal their resources. Okay, here for solo, it says you must defeat the Doom and score 30 plus icons. Now, I've played this a whole bunch of times solo, and I've never been able to defeat the Doom. I've managed to get 30 plus icons once, maybe twice, but I've never been able to defeat the Doom as a solo player. So what I normally do is I just play with this basic goal here. Cooperative, when you're playing together, you must defeat the Doom and collectively score 40 plus icons. Now I'm looking at these solo and co-op sort of victory conditions as being challenge modes, hard mode. There is a short game up here for 3-player if you want a quicker game. There is also a Titan mode, again a very difficult mode here. But yes, I tend to, again, because I can't win at this solo hard mode here. I just try to survive 6 turns. I've got to be honest. And then try to see how many points I can get, and then just try to reach a higher title depending on how many icons. But yeah, let's get playing. Now I am playing solo, so any cards that I discard will be going into the discard pile. We're starting on the Republic of Ray. The adventure is the Sunken Gold. Now there are 11 different actions that you can do during your turn. Some of them are for multiplayer, some of them are for co-op, some of them are for competitive. So you may not have access, or you may not be able to do all of those 11 actions in any particular game, but there are 11 different actions. Now, I don't really want to go through all of them. You'll see some of them as we're playing. But some of the main ones are scouting to open up another island to the side, sailing, where you move from one island to an adjacent island. Now, again, these diamonds represent the direction that you're traveling, but also when you place another island next to this after a scout action, you have to place the bottom of the island, which is this axis here, along the edge that you're placing the island. And then you look and see how many diamonds they are, and that represents how many map cards that you have to discard to sail to that island. And you can also, when you're doing things like trying to do the adventure, trying to attack the Doom, you can only do it if you're in the same island as that particular thing. So what I'm going to do to begin with, because I don't have any resources, I've really kind of only got 2 choices. Well, I mean, I could place a pirate down here, but that's a little bit of a risk because I don't know if I need that resource just yet. So what I could do is I could either raid this island, draw 3 cards from my deck, put 1 into my hand, and then those icons, these icons here in my hand, I can use to do things. And then I have to discard the rest. Or I can try to scout. And I'm thinking that at the moment, raiding is a bit of a gamble because I don't really know what I need. Same thing with this resource. If this resource was the same as an icon here, then definitely would be a good choice to put a pirate here so that I could use that icon to do or to complete this card. But this is not needed for this adventure. So I'm thinking the first thing I should do is scout. So let's scout in this direction here. So to scout, it doesn't cause you to discard any cards as a payment like some of the other actions, but you do have to use one of your map cards and an adventure card to create a new island. Now, please note that if the last adventure card is drawn, immediately the Doom becomes maximum and you have to play your final round. So again, manipulation of the adventure deck is important as well. What else is there before we continue? You also have a hand limit of 3 cards. So doing the raid to gain cards into your hand to get resources for you to use, you're limited to a hand size of 3. Now you can discard cards from your hand as an action as well. But we are building an island, so we've got to do it with the 2 icon first. We're doing it in this direction, so we put the bottom of the map card in line there. We then put the adventure card underneath. So this is Haunted Island, and the quest or the adventure is Outsail the Armada. Okay, now this is not good for us. Why is it not good? Well, the resource that we have on this island and the resource on our first island are not needed for either of the adventures, which is a bit of a pain. The only good news is it's only going to cost me 1 card or 1 map card to travel there. It does give me more options in terms of where I can scout and travel or sail. But to be honest, this isn't really offering me anything at the moment. And until I kind of got an idea in terms of what I need, it may not be worth sailing here and placing pirates. So what we're going to do is, I think for the next action, because again, you're going to rotate through the players, but if you're playing solo, you just keep doing things yourself. I think I'm going to scout in this direction as my next action. So again, we use one map card and one adventure card. We flip them over. Still not good. However, I do notice that when this gets flipped from 2 to 1, I will be needing that resource there. But that's not going to happen until the next turn, so I don't know whether it's worth the risk. So again, we've got our map card. We place the bottom of the map card on the axis or on the edge where we are going, and then we place it with the 2 icons on top. So the adventure is called the Shipyard, and we are at Port Royal. Now, you'll notice here that we have 2 diamonds now. So if I want to sail from this island to here, I'm going to have to discard 2 map cards. But again, it's not giving me anything in terms of a resource that I need as yet. And in terms of the resources for this adventure, again, I don't have access to anything. So this is really not a very good start for me at all. Maybe I should start raiding and seeing if I get any cards with these icons, because now that I've got some choice, I may be able to get something that I need. Just having that first card is kind of a risk. So for my next action, I think I'm going to raid before I sail, because depending on what I can gather in the cards, may make a decision in terms of whether I go this way or whether I go that way. So I'm going to raid here on this island where I currently am, and then the raid number is 3. So from my map deck, I take 3 cards. Now again, you've got to keep an eye on this, because once all these cards have gone into the discard pile, it's the end of turn. Oh, another thing I forgot to do. I forgot the doom. The doom starts with the 1 pip on the die. Sorry, I know. I'll put a note in the editing. I forgot to do this, but yes, the doom does start on the same island as you, and it starts with 1 on the die. Now that number on the doom die reflects its power, but it also reflects how far it can move when it chases you, and it will chase the nearest ship. More about the doom later as we come to use it. But yes, I do want to try and get away from that so that it can't actually catch me. So I've drawn 3 cards. We're raiding the Republic of Ray. So what do I get? Okay, so these are the 3 cards that I get. Okay, so the bottle will be useful on this adventure and this adventure. The crew would be good on this adventure and this. Okay, so the trouble is that I'm going to be discarding the other 2. I'm not going to have a chance of getting them back until the next turn, and I don't know how many more bottles and crew are in here. So I'm thinking that if I take the crew, I'm going to be discarding 2 bottles. Like I said, I'm not sure how many other icons there are in here. I haven't counted them. If I take one of the bottles, then I'm losing 1 of each of these. I'm thinking that it's probably safer to get rid of 1 of each rather than 2 of the same icon in case I need 1 of these later in the game. So I'm thinking that I'm going to keep 1 of the bottles and I will discard these 2. So these 2 cards go onto the discard pile. This goes into my hand. And I can now use this card for this icon, for this resource. Right, so I've got a bottle. So I can go in this direction because I can then try and raid again and hopefully get a hurricane. Or I could go in this direction and then hope to get another crew member. Because another thing is that if at the end of turn, if the doom manages to catch you, if he manages to move to the same island that you are, he can kill your pirates. And if you haven't got any pirates to kill, he'll kill you. But the thing is that at the moment he's only got a power of 1, which means he may not be able to catch me. And if he does catch me, he's not going to do any damage because this also represents the number of diamonds that he can move. So I'm thinking that moving in this direction is potentially safer from staying away from the doom, but I've just discarded one of these guys, haven't I? I've still got a bit of time left. So okay, I'm going to sail to this. I'm going to sail over here. So to sail, you've got to discard one map card for every diamond. So I'm sailing here, there's one diamond, so I have to discard one card. That could be what I want, but I'm not going to know. And then I move to the Haunted Island. Now again, I don't need that resource yet, so I don't really want to drop a pirate. Again, you have to be on a certain space if you want to drop an expedition or a pirate. I think I'm going to raid. Now, this one has 2 instead of 3, so I can only take 2 cards and choose. But I think I'm going to raid again. So 2 cards. Let's hope for a hurricane. What do we get? Oh! Look, we would have got the crew member as well, so I could have got that one. But okay, so we've got a crew member and we do have a hurricane. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to discard the crew. And I'm going to keep this one. So now I have the resources needed to do this adventure. And I am in the right place to do this. Excellent. Okay, next round, next action. I think I'm going to complete this adventure. Complete, you have to discard 1 card, spend all the icons on adventure cards, and then take that adventure card. So I have to discard 1 map card to do the complete action. And again, I'm in the same location, so I can do this. Now, instead of spending the cards from your hand, the resources, if you have pirates or expeditions on these resources, on these cards, you can bring these guys back and then use that icon in terms of your completion. But we're going to use our cards. So one hurricane and 1 pot. I'm going to spend those. So those go into the discard pile. And again, once I use all my cards, that's the end of the turn. And I'm going to get this adventure card, which is amazing because 1 is worth 2 points because I managed to do it when it was at the 2 icon stage. And I have access to this special ability. This one says, the Doom does not move this round. So these abilities can be used once per game. If you use this ability, you flip the card over and it's only worth 1 point. At the moment, this card is worth 2 points. Now, if you get this adventure when it's only with the 1 icon, so if this, for example, was like that, maybe next turn, if I manage to complete this adventure, I get the card, I get 1 point at the end of the game, but I don't get access to the special ability. It's upside down, yeah? But in this case, I do. So what I could do is I could sacrifice this to give me 1 victory point instead of 2 and prevent the Doom from moving. Now that is very useful, especially when you're playing competitive. But at the moment, it looks like I'm going to be having 2 points at the end of the game. Right, now, there's no adventure on this island at the moment. At the end of the turn, there will be a new one placed there. So what are we going to do next? How many cards do I have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 8 cards left to use before the end of the turn. What do I want to do now? I think I want to scout again. I want to scout down here. So 1 map card and 1 adventure card. What do we got this time? We are going to Fortune Town. It's going to give me access to a map. Oh, okay, a map could be useful there. We can raid this place for 3 cards. But if we look here, again, you have to put the bottom of the card in line with where you're coming from. This is going to cost me 2 cards to sail here. Okay, what about the adventure? Millions of seagulls. We have a different crew icon. And we've got another hurricane. Okay, which I have neither. Now, even though this is a crew icon, it's not the same as that icon. So you can't use one for the other. You've got to have the correct icon. So we put it under the map card with the 2 icons showing. I'm sorry, it's upside down, but this is how the game's played. Just twist your head a little bit. Now, I mean, I could go down here and basically make sure that the Doom couldn't catch me. Again, the number on the die represents how much they can move. At the end, again, this is all done. The activation of the Doom is done at the end of the turn. But that's going to cost me 2 cards to come down here. And at the moment, I mean, I suppose the map could be useful here as long as I can find another one of those crew. This crew's not the same. I mean, that might be useful. So I'm going to sail down to here. That's going to cost me 2 cards. Again, you don't get to look at these, yeah? You don't get to know what icons you're losing. But it's a very clever mechanic. I like this mechanic in terms of managing the time and when the turn ends. But I also like the multiplayer way that the cards go to the next player in terms of creating a draw deck for them. So that action was to sail down to here. So I've discarded the cards. I moved down 2 cards because it's 2 diamonds. Right, next action, I could deploy a pirate here. Discard 1 map card, place 1 pirate on your location. I think I'll do that. So I'm going to discard 1 card. I'm going to deploy 1 pirate onto this island. So that now allows me to use a map as a resource, just once. But it is a bit of a risk because you only ever have 3 pirates or pirate cubes. It is a big risk because the only way that you can get these pirates back to your ship is by spending that icon. You can't bring them back any other way, unfortunately. So yeah, let us continue. So we have access to a map now, so I could come back to here and potentially get that if I get the crew member, but the Doom is there, so we've got to be very careful. What am I going to do now? How many cards have we got left? We've only got 4 cards left. I think I want to... I mean, I could scout and then raid. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to scout here. So 1 map card, 1 adventure card. So here. So this is, what's this called? Volcano Island. And the adventure is Escape the Natives, Crew and Fireball. But it only costs 1 to move there. That could get me far away from the Doom. And the Doom has to move towards the nearest pirate. But he's not going to be able to reach me. I'll show you at the end of the turn why he's not going to be able to reach me. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do to end the turn. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to raid. So we take 3 cards because it's 3. You can only raid as long as there's enough cards in the deck, yeah? So 3. Now I can pick one of these and discard the other 2. I think it's a pretty obvious choice because we've got no need for the gold at the moment, but we do have need for these here and here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to discard these ones and keep this. So I've now got this crew icon in my hand. I think they call it the hand. We've got this card in my captain's log. I can still use that special ability if I want to, but not at the moment. And because we've used the last map cards, they're all in the discard pile now. This now activates the end turn, or the turn end. In a multiplayer game, this will be when all of the map cards from every player has made its way to the discard pile. So yeah, that brings about the round end or the turn end. And the turn end consists of 3 phases. The first phase is called Nightfall. The second phase is the Doom. And the third phase is called New Dawn. So phase 1 of the round end or the turn end is Nightfalls, where single icon adventures flip over and become sea. So like I mentioned just now, if an adventure is on its single icon, this flips over and you put it under and it just becomes a section of sea. In our case, we don't have any single icon adventures, so we go straight to phase 2, which is the Doom. So the Doom, first of all, will increase its strength by 1. So the Doom now has a power of 2. And now it moves to attack. So it looks for the closest pirate. If you're playing multiplayer and multiple pirates are the same distance, you look at who has the most icons in their captain's log, who has the most victory points currently. So this Doom now has a power of 2, and this represents also how far it can move. And you'll see that there are these diamonds. Well, that will cost pips to move. So at the moment, this Doom could move here for 2 diamonds, 2 pips. It could move here, but then its power would be 0. So even if it was on the same space as a pirate, it wouldn't actually do any damage. The Doom could move here, which it will, and its effective power is now 1 because it's had to use 1 of its power to move here. Don't rotate the dice, okay? This is showing its kind of like maximum power. But its effective power is now 1 because it spent 1 to move here. Now again, if there was a pirate here, it would then attack. And if attacked, the pirates would take damage equal to the amount of remaining power. So if there was a pirate here and the Doom got here, after spending 1 to move, they would take 1 damage. And damage is taken in terms of your pirates first, and then your ship. In multiplayer, if the Doom kills you and your ship, you become a ghost ship and you help the Doom. So in our game, the Doom would move towards me because I'm the only pirate. He would spend 1 power to move to here, but he can't move any further because this now requires 2 more power to reach me. So the Doom is stuck there, even though it has power left over. If the Doom was on, where is it? 3, for example. It could move 1 here and then 2 here. So it could reach me, but because now its effective power is 0, it wouldn't actually do any damage. If the Doom had a power of 4, it would spend 1 here to make it 3, 2 here to make it 1, and it would then do 1 damage to me, which means one of my pirates is out of the game. You can't get them back. But as it is, the Doom is on power 2. He reaches there, but he can't reach me. Right, once the Doom is finished, you then go to the 3rd phase, which is the New Dawn. So now you rotate all the adventure cards that have a double icon. You rotate them to the single icon. So the adventure changes, and it's new icons. So as we can see here, it might be a good idea to sail to this one, deploy a pirate, sail to here and complete this adventure to get 1 victory point. This one also rotates. Excuse my hand. Oh, this one has a hurricane. Oh no, I don't have a hurricane anymore. Oh no. Oh, okay. So much for that plan. That goes there. We've got another double here. So we flip it to the single here. It's a bottle. Now we are going to get access to all the cards again. This one flips to here. This is gold. Oh, I could come here, do this adventure, put a pirate here to get the gold, come back, do that adventure. But can I do all of that in 1 turn? Because again, during the turn 2's end phase, the round end, these are going to get rotated out. Now, once all the double icons are rotated to their single side, you then look to see for any islands without an adventure. You will then place a new adventure there with the double icon showing. Dun dun. So this is now sabotage. This requires the crew member and gold. Well, I've got the crew member icon here. Gold's over here. So there's a lot of backwards and forwards by the looks of it in terms of get some of these adventures done. And again, to repeat, if you use the last adventure card, the Doom goes to 6 power and you play 1 final round. What else is there? Okay, so now the second player becomes the first player in a multiplayer game. So now the first player becomes the last player. You shuffle the map deck. So now we are going to get these cursed and high seas cards in the deck. Let me show you what these cards are because they're a little bit different. So for these cards, you'll notice that they do have resources, but they don't have islands. Another thing that you should notice is that they have these red diamonds on some of their sides. So these are directions that you cannot travel and you cannot scout, but the Doom can travel through. And sometimes these red diamonds, they will allow the Doom to take shortcuts to reach you. So for the second turn, you will shuffle all of these cards together. So now the map deck will be a little bit larger, but you've now got some of these cards that are going to hinder you somewhat. So you'll reshuffle these, place these again for the first player, and then you will play a new round. At the end of round 2, the Doom will become power 3 and chase you, and then they will chase again the nearest pirate. And the game will play normally until the 6th turn, when the Doom becomes a 6 and you've run out of adventure cards, and then at the end you'll see who has the most points. Now if you're playing solo, you're sort of playing against yourself, you can try to get higher and higher titles in terms of getting more points, or you can try to achieve the solo challenge mode, defeat the Doom and score 30 plus icons. But again, I have yet to defeat the Doom in either solo or co-op play, because I don't know, I just don't seem to be able to find that many spells to overcome the Doom. I mean, this is the second card. The third card, I need 4 spells to overcome it. Okay, I thought I'd put a little bit of footage in terms of how to do the attacks in this game, since we didn't include that in the little playthrough. So there are 2 ways of attacking in this game. If you're playing in a competitive multiplayer game, you can attack the other players. If you're playing on solo or multiplayer, you can also try to attack the Doom. Now, in either case, you have to be in the same island as the target for the attack. Let's move the Doom out of the way. Let's look at player versus player first. So let's say, for example, that yellow has a pirate expedition on this island, the Republic of Ray, and they've got 2 more pirates in their supply. So this is the yellow player's map deck. This is the red player's map deck. So in this case, what would happen is that the red player would have to, first of all, sail into this area, which would cost a number of map cards from their deck equal to the number of diamonds. So that would cost 1 card. And let's say, for example, that the yellow player has no idea that this guy is going to attack him. So maybe he does a raid, or he does a scout or something like that. Comes back to the red player for the next round or the next turn of actions. And the red player says, I'm going to attack the yellow player. Now to do this, you have to what's called reveal your fate. And this is to determine whether your attack is successful or not. And it also applies if, instead of attacking a player, you're attacking the Doom. Now, to reveal your fate and to find out whether your attack was successful or not, what you do is you take the top deck from your map, from your map deck here, and then you select one of the corners of the card without looking at the other side. So let's say, for example, I select this corner here. What we now do is we turn this card over, and if the skull is on the corner that I selected, then the attack misses. If the skull is not in that corner, then the attack succeeds. So in this case, the skull is there, I selected this corner here, so my attack succeeds. But if, for example, if I revealed my fate by taking the top card, I selected this corner here without looking, turned it over, if the skull is there, then the attack fails. This now goes into the discard pile or into the map deck of the next player. Now, if you're attacking another player, what you then have to do, if your attack was successful, is you have to basically play 2 whirlpools, 2 fireballs, or 2 hurricanes. That is the sort of resources required for the attack. So you have to have, for example, you may need to have a pirate on a location with those, or you may need to have them in your hand. There's a fireball. Is there another fireball here? Let me check and see. Of course, there's no other fireball. But let's say we take this one instead. So let's say, for example, the red player has a card with a whirlpool. He also has a pirate on the whirlpool resource on this island. this player can now spend these 2 spells, and it has to be the same one, either 2 fireballs, 2 hurricanes, or 2 whirlpools. So in this case, he would spend 1 whirlpool card that he has in his hand. He would bring back the pirate here and be able to utilize that whirlpool, and then they would do 1 damage to this opposing player. Now, when you do damage to another player, what happens is that they lose one of the pirates in their supply. Please note that it states supply. If this player had no pirates in their supply, but did have a pirate on an island getting resources, the pirate would then lose their ship, because you can't lose these in a combat. You can only use them when they're in supply. So having no pirates here is always very, very risky. Now, what if instead of attacking another pirate, you are instead attacking the Doom? Well, the same principle applies in terms of revealing your fate. So let's say this player wants to attack the Doom. Again, you would reveal your fate. Let's say we choose this corner. Bump. Exactly the same. Okay, so the skull is not in this corner, therefore the attack is successful. We get rid of that. Now, for the Doom, you need to have the correct amount of resources as shown on the top Doom card. If you do, you will then spend those cards from your hand, or use the pirates that are currently on the locations, and you will then get that Doom card to add to your captain's log, and in this case you will get 3 victory points at the end of the game. When the last Doom card is taken, the Doom dies, you've defeated the Doom, and the game ends. Otherwise, you carry on playing. That is how combat works. Very simple. Now, there are rules in terms of what happens to pirates who get killed, but I'll leave those for you. I'll leave those rules for you guys to find out if and when you purchase or download and print out the game. But yeah, it is a very clever little game that once you start playing, it all makes sense. And like I mentioned just now, I'm not the brightest spark. Sometimes I do have to read rule books a number of times before it makes sense. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I don't put out a gazillion videos. Maybe that's a little bit too much, but I don't put out a huge amount of videos because I do take a lot of time to read the rules, to minimize the number of mistakes that I make. I do admit that sometimes I get excited and forget stuff as I'm playing, but I do try to get the rules as right as I can. And like I say, with this game, when I first read the rule book, it was difficult for me to understand to begin with, but the rule book is actually, now that I understand how to play the game, I can see that the rule book is actually well written and clear. It's just that when I first read through it, again, I think it's just me. I needed to play it to understand it. But saying that, this is a really fun game. It's a small game, so it's not very expensive. Again, I'm not too sure how much it is. You'll have to check the website. But the print and play version is free. You can download from Board Game Geek. Again, I can't, corroborate? I can't check that because, like I say, some of us in Malaysia seem to have issues accessing Board Game Geek for the last couple of years, I think. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been of some help and of some use. But thanks again to Charles, to X First Games for sending it to me. So guys, thank you once again for watching. Please, please, please like the video, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, share with everybody you know. We need to increase awareness. But until the next video, take care, stay safe. Cheers.